I want to thank everybody for joining us today on the Mayor's Brief. And today I have with me a very special guest, John Thompson, who's the basketball coach at North Carolina Wesleyan College. And I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, look, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit of your background and where you're from and how you ended up at North Carolina Wesleyan College.
Sure. I'm from Durham originally. Grew up there and had a great experience growing up in Durham. Went to Jordan High School, graduated from UNC Greensboro, where I played basketball. And then kind of a interesting route, but got into coaching, which originally I thought I might do at the high school level, but got into college coaching. And after 9 years at 3 different locations, came to North Carolina Wesleyan for my first head coaching job back in the summer of 1995.
Wow. You know, I remember 1995. It doesn't seem that far away, but when I do the math, I mean, that's at least 20-some years, right? So,
Yeah.
And you've had a great run at North Carolina Wesleyan. You've done a lot of great things there for the program, and, you know, I want to thank you for that.
Well, you're very kind, but the college has been great to me and to my family. It's been a great place for us to do what we do, and a great opportunity for me to work with some outstanding young men.
Sure. So, I mean, it's not just about coaching. It's really about developing young men, and that's really what you do. And so what are you seeing as you go out there and recruit folks, and what lessons maybe from some of those recruitment experiences that you have that maybe we can translate here into Rocky Mount in terms of our own school system, in terms of developing our own young people in our area?
Yeah, well, you know, one thing that I know is there are a lot of really good young people out there.
Right.
I get excited by the opportunity to meet so many guys and their families and be able to sit in homes, whether they're in New York City or Miami, Florida, or in Rocky Mount. And what I've learned is that there are great kids that come from every background. It doesn't matter whether they've been raised by 2 parents or 1 grandparents or an older sibling, black or white, high income or low, or somewhere in between. I have found great people in all of those areas. And, you know, what's exciting is to be part of the opportunity for them to go to college, to get an education and a degree, which I think can be 2 separate things, but to do both and then to watch them grow. We talk about with our recruits that this isn't really a 4-year decision, it's more like a 50-year decision. And so for me to work with guys and now talk to guys who are in their 30s and some approaching their 40s who I coached here at Wesleyan is pretty exciting.
Well, you know, it really is a 50-year decision. And how ill-prepared are you to be able to do that at 18? I mean, all of us.
Absolutely. Very ill-prepared.
Unless you have the wisdom of Solomon, I don't know how you have that kind of foresight to really be able to drive it. So what is the recruitment area that you typically are recruiting from to bring folks here to Rocky Mount?
Yeah, it's changed a little bit over the years. Probably the first 10 years I was here, we had kids from all over the country. Massachusetts, New York, DC, Michigan, Florida. We had them from everywhere. Since that time, I don't know whether it's a combination of we've done a better job of recruiting in-state, whether people in-state became more familiar with us. My longevity and track record maybe helped with that, but we've been much more in-state since then. Currently, we have 2 kids from Virginia and 1 from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and the rest of our kids are in-state. 1 from Charlotte, which is typically a little far west for us. Most of our kids are from the Triangle East, certainly from Greensboro East.
Man, that's fantastic. So as you look at Rocky Mount, I know you've grown up here, you've got kids that are part of the public school system. You know, what are the attributes about Rocky Mount that you just like and that you think we ought to extol? What are some of the challenges that you see both as a coach and as a father that maybe we need to start working on and improve? And what would be your vision for Rocky Mount?
Well, I have a son who's now 24, who's a graduate of Rocky Mount High School and a graduate of Wesleyan. who works here locally in the banking industry. And then I have twin boys who are entering their senior year at Rocky Mount High School. And our experience, whether it's through the elementary grades, the middle school grades, or at the high school level, has been really good. We've been very pleased with educational opportunities and the experience with all the teachers and administrators that we've dealt with. That's been exciting for us. We think that Rocky Mount, we've been here 25 years. My oldest son was born in August of the year that I accepted this job.
How about that?
So he's coming up on 25 years old. And it's been a great place for us to raise our family.
Right.
There have been a few times during those 25 years that we've looked at some different things, and we've always ended up back here. And it's been because those guys have had good experiences in their educational opportunities, their social opportunities, and made a tremendous number of great friends here in Rocky Mount. My vision for Rocky Mount, really, I would say, is not that different than my vision for my own team. We talk frequently about kind of working inside out. And so in basketball, you may know, playing inside out is a good thing. Like, you have a good big guy, you can feed inside, and that's efficient, but it also opens up some opportunities for your perimeter players. Well, just on a larger scale, we talk about, first of all, let's deal with our team. And so once we deal with the culture of our team, how we want to operate and the things that we do, we expand that. Let's talk about the athletic department, and then the college, and then the Rocky Mount community. And then Rocky Mount's part of Nash County and Edgecombe County and Eastern North Carolina, and then the state of North Carolina. And so we talk a lot about our community. The community that I am most hands-on with is my family at home, and very close to that is my basketball team. And so trying to make our community as unified as it can be. We have guys, again, from Virginia, from South Carolina, and from all over North Carolina, from all different backgrounds, different religions, and trying to get them to come together for a common cause, to move all in the same direction at the same time, with everybody understanding their roles, is really important. And I think if we can translate that to our college and then to our city, and hopefully there's a ripple effect. If you throw a rock into the water, the ripples go out. And we hope that, the guys that I coach, I hope that as they graduate and they go back to their home communities, or they decide to reside here in Rocky Mount or wherever they go, that they will take some of what they have learned in our basketball program and at North Carolina Wesleyan and influence those communities.
So really what you're talking about is leadership. So, and it's about understanding what motivates folks and how to create commonality in terms of goal and purpose. Right. And so what do you do? I mean, how do you make that happen? Because, that's a life lesson. It's not just a basketball lesson. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps you going and gives you the ability to step back and get real perspective and perception on what you're trying to achieve and in the direction you're trying to go, which is critical.
Absolutely. And so these are things that we talk about every day.
Right.
I don't think that you can, have a class or go to a seminar or watch a film and feel like, okay, well, we got that.
Right.
It's a daily effort.
Well, it's a practice. It's like my father says, medicine's a practice. It's called a practice for a reason.
Absolutely.
Life is also a practice. So, to your point, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But...
No. So I think what we do as coaches, and certainly what I try to do, is exactly what you said, is I'm a leader first. Basketball happens to be the carrot or the thing that maybe brings guys to me, and it's the thing that excites them, but it's a tool.
Right.
And so it makes our program a classroom. It makes it a laboratory. And It requires some effort to think, so once we went home for the COVID-19,
Right.
we sent everybody home from Wesleyan early, like most everybody in the country. Since that time, we have had weekly Zoom calls with
Okay.
our team. I mean, everybody in the country is a little bit zoomed out at this point. But once a week, we meet with our whole team so that we can see them, kind of feel them a little bit, talk to them. And every one of those meetings, there's been a point to it. We don't just meet to meet, and we don't just meet to talk about jump shots or rebounding. We talk about real life. And we have guest speakers, we have team leaders on some calls, we have coach leaders on some calls. And all of those are in an effort to teach, to mold, to mentor, and to get guys to understand how impactful what they do is. And let me just say on that, we took a group of guys to visit an elementary school here in town this year. And some of those kids had come. We had an education day back in December. And it was after exams at Wesleyan were over, but public schools were still in. And so we had a game with no students on our campus.
Okay.
So we had an 11 a.m. tip-off and invited kids from the public schools to come in. And so they bussed a bunch of kids in. Gave us a great atmosphere, and the kids got to be on a college campus, see some things. It was really a great event. Well, later in the year, we go to visit this school, and some kids who had been there asked if a particular player was there. He says, AJ here today? No, he's not here today. But they remembered him because of some things he did on the court. And they began to talk about that. And so when I went back to practice that afternoon, and I pulled the guys who were with me, and I said, remember how this went down? Like, those kids are looking at you, and they're paying attention to you. And so the things that you do, the things that you say, have importance. And
we often don't realize the impact that we have.
Right.
And just what I said, I want to thank you and your team and through the years of all those hours that you put in investing in our kids, because that really is critical. But one of the things that you're talking about in terms of leadership, and the question I have is, you're recruiting kids who've shown some success in the basketball arena, and they've shown some success, and they are leaders, and they are more likely to be called a type A personality. So how do you blend a bunch of type A personalities with a very strong testosterone flow, I'm sure, into a team? Because, part of leading is also understanding when you need to fall back. It also is when do I need to encourage somebody versus when do I need to beat them, so to speak. So, how do you do that? I mean, that's a delicate kind of dance.
Right. I think there's a little bit of science and a lot of art to that. And I'm certainly not an expert. If anyone ever completely understood that and could bottle it, they could retire.
Oh, sure.
So, but what I do think is that that's a daily effort as well. Just like we're coaching our team's culture on a daily basis, we're coaching roles and understanding and acceptance and the bigger picture that we're trying to accomplish something greater than any one of us could accomplish on our own. Without players, the coach is nothing.
Right.
One player, if you put one player out on the court, he can't stand out of bounds and inbound the ball to himself. So you need each other. And it's a daily effort, and we talk a lot about, there used to be a phrase with coaches that would talk about accepting your role. Well, and that's evolved over the years. Accepting it is one thing, but it's like, okay, well, if that's what you want me to do, if it's not, I don't get to play as much, or I don't get to start, or I don't get to shoot, well, I'll accept it, but I'm not really that happy about it. And then it kind of evolved into embracing your role. And so really bringing that in and taking it as part of it. And then for a while we used star in your role. Like we wanted everybody to be a star in their role. Everybody can't be the star scorer,
Right.
which a lot of people aspire to be.
Right.
But everybody can star in whatever role they have. And then most recently, we've adopted at Wesleyan the phrase, be a champion in your role. So we had talked for a long time about being a champion in everything that you do. Obviously, on the court, we would like to win championships. But we want you to walk like a champion. We want you to talk like a champion. We want you to think like a champion, act like a champion, be a student like a champion, etc. Well, we want you to be a champion in your role, whatever that is. Like the championship is the Holy Grail, right? It's what the gold trophy.
That's right.
And so in your role, we want you to be a champion. And that may be really being a cheerleader on the bench. It may be the best passer on the team. It may be the best rebounder, the best defender, whatever that role is. If we are all champions in that, then we have a chance as a team to be really successful.
Yeah, and that's the importance too of, I suppose, mantras and constant reminders, and what I mean by that, things like the Pledge of Allegiance constantly remind us of who we are. It's part of the ritual of living, and so really what you're talking about is a little bit of the ritual of playing, the ritual of being a team. What do we need to do? What's our commonality?
Right.
How do we break that out, and then how do we move forward? And of course, I remember my basketball coach as a kid. And we always looked up to Phil Ford, right? He's a native son. He was a leading scorer. He was one of the best ball handlers in the country and the world. But what I was constantly reminded of is that he also had the most assists.
Right.
And that was a thing that you didn't necessarily see. You saw the scoring, you saw him touching the ball, but you didn't see the impact he was having on the game by sharing, by giving it away, by having that understanding of what it was to be a team. What is that core value of our group?
Right. And I think you have to reinforce those things. So it's one thing to ask guys to be champions in their roles, but if a guy's doing a great job, he doesn't get to play that much, but he's constantly encouraging, he's constantly up applauding for his teammates, he's constantly talking from the sideline. But I never compliment that. If I never reinforce that,
Right.
well, it's going to be hard for him to sustain that. So when you want people to maybe sacrifice, like everybody has to sacrifice. When you want all these type A personalities to come together and now, okay, we're going to have to divide this up. We've got X number of players on the team, but only 5 can play at a time. And, everybody's going to sacrifice something.
Right.
Well, you need to show appreciation for those sacrifices and let them know that what they do matters.
Well, and even, talking about basketball, I mean, I'm certainly not a coach, certainly not at the level that you are, but, depending on the offense that you run also depends on what individual gets to play. So it's not necessarily an indication of talent or ability. It's just simply what is your role within the context of a greater offense, something that is bigger than us. And I think that gets lost an awful lot too, just in the conversation of, what is my role in life, and it varies from time to time depending on the team and the game, et cetera.
Absolutely. Well, everybody has a team. You have a team here in the city.
Sure.
The college has a larger team, but then, thinking inside out, the athletic department is a team, the admissions office is a team, the development office is a team, and everybody's got roles to play. And understanding that and maximizing it and sacrificing, understanding that, I might be able to do that job, whatever that is, but this team needs me to do this right now.
Right. Well, and I think that is it. As you start looking at a team, like say the city of Rocky Mount, we all bear some responsibility within the context of that team. All 55,000 of us. So, what role can I do, to benefit the city, to benefit the community, to benefit the residents? And it's a little bit like a church, a congregation. Right. It's the people. It's not the building. It's not the city itself. It's the individuals that comprise it. And so what can we do, and how do we pull that up, divide it up to understand what my role is today and understand that it's ever changing depending on what the needs are. So that's always, that's why I always like to talk about leadership and try to understand different perspectives, because I learn something every single time that, I hear somebody else's, thoughts. And because the different angles make all the difference in the world sometimes, I think.
They do. And, you and I spoke in a previous conversation,
Sure.
and I shared with you that I had taken the word community and put the emphasis on unity.
Right.
And so if, you have COMM in lowercase letters and UNITY in uppercase letters, and really focus on that. That again, inside out, whatever your community is, your church, your home neighborhood,
Sure.
whatever your community is, we all have a chance to influence. And again, those ripple effects, that if all of us were really focused on making our community the best, the most unified, unity is about coming together, togetherness, oneness, wholeness. If everybody would kind of take that on in their community and that ripple effect would go out, then it wouldn't just be my team, my school, my church, it would then be Rocky Mount, it would then be Nash County and Edgecombe County and Eastern North Carolina and so on.
Lots of organizations comprise the whole, and there is tremendous power in unity. I mean, there's tremendous power in a team that everybody knows their role, they understand it, they understand each other, and there's a communication flow that occurs that's nonverbal, that just happens with experience. And I believe the same happens for communities as well. And there's tremendous power in that. And it's about trying to harness that.
Right.
And we spend an awful lot of time trying to divide ourselves, and particularly in these days and times, right? I mean, everything is so polarized. Who would have thought that wearing a face mask would have become politicized? I mean, it's actually a thing, So I laugh when I see the new Twix commercials, left Twix, right Twix.
Right.
Well, it's exactly the same thing. But, I feel like I'm living a little bit in a Twix commercial just at life in general. So it is, how do we bring everybody back together? And that's something that I think is incredibly important.
It's vitally important, I think, and certainly don't have all the answers to that. If
none of us do, right? But that's
right.
that's the point of the communication, the conversation, right?
Absolutely. And so, I think that just as a general thought, that we should all, when we look in the mirror, whether it's individually or as an organization, whatever, we want to let's be constructive, not destructive. Let's look for solutions, not complain about the way things are. Let's raise people up, don't tear people down. Let's unite, not divide.
Well, there's also power in words too. They matter. What people hear, what they are encouraged to do, and how they're communicated to makes a difference in terms of their reaction as well.
No doubt.
Look, we're talking about leadership, and we got running out of time. So tell us a little bit about your team this year, and I'm sure you're excited about it. I hope we can have a season. I'm crossing my fingers and believing that it's going to,
well.
and I believe in that we are. But anyway, I just want to hear a little bit about them.
Yeah. So we're going to be very young.
Yeah.
We have only one returning senior, one returning junior, and then 6 returning sophomores. So our incoming class is a pretty large class. We have 1 transfer junior, and then the rest of our guys are freshmen.
Okay.
So we're going to be very heavily freshman and sophomore. But our returning senior was the leading scorer in the league last year, so we're starting at a good place. Our returning junior is, I think, ready to really kind of break out.
Right.
He's had some great flashes as a freshman and a sophomore. And I guess I should say these guys' names. Damon McDowell is our returning senior.
Absolutely. Let's do a shout out.
He's the kid from Myrtle Beach. And
Okay.
Isaiah Lewis is our returning junior from Knightdale.
Right.
And the incoming class is exciting to me. We're really, the youth is what it is, you know. So one of the things as a basketball team, we would like to get old and kind of stay old,
Right.
you know. But while that's a little bit of it makes me a little nervous, the talent and the energy and the enthusiasm of this group really excites me.
Well, look, I want to thank you for coming, and I'll add this: if you need some age and maturity on your team, I still have 4 years of eligibility, so you know, consider that, and we'll just leave on that note.
Great, I appreciate your time.
Hi, I'm Rocky Mountain Mayor Sandy Roberson. Confirmed cases of COVID-19 are still rising in our area, and as a community, we have the ability to stop this increase. Together, we have the power to open businesses, cheer at ball games, gather at celebrations, and welcome our kids back to school. But only if we practice social distancing, wash our hands often, and wear a mask in public. Thank you. One Rocky Mountain.